This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right. And naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about anything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys. Tito's is known for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
This episode of the Tudors Dynasty and Beyond podcast is brought to you by Mrs. Bakewell's. Mrs. Bakewell's classic English scones are lovingly handmade in small batches using only the finest ingredients, offering a true taste of tradition. It's also the first cream tea company in the United States, and I have had so many of these, I cannot recommend them more. They are absolutely delicious. I shared some with my sister this weekend who has been to the UK, and she thought they were absolutely phenomenal. So please check them out for yourself. Head on over to mrsbakewells.com.
You're listening to Dr. Emma and me on the Tudors Dynasty and Beyond podcast. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome back. Well, it's Thursday. You know what that means. It's time for Dr. Emma and me. Welcome back, Emma.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm good. It's, like I said, it's Thursday. Thursdays are always such fun days for me to be able to chat with my bestie about history, right?
Yes. Thursday has always been my favorite day of the week. Do you know why?
Because it was Thirsty Thursday.
It's like you read my mind. It's like you know me. Back in college, when you were cool, you would go out on a Thursday because that's the day the younger people couldn't go out.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Spain where people can, it's not 21. We were, it was 16 when I was 16, the age you could buy alcohol in Spain. So when you went to college, you made sure that you went out on Thursday because that was the night that only the college kids were out. So it was it was a good memories about Thursdays. Who doesn't like? It's like the promise of the weekend. I love it.
Yeah, right. The weekend is almost here. Time to get crazy.
One more day.
Thirsty Thursday. That is going to be
Thursday.
If we ever do
people should tell us their stories about Thirsty Thursdays.
Oh, jeez. If they remember them.
Yeah. I forgot all of them. And it was before social media. So great for me.
Yeah, exactly.
We are privileged, the people who are a certain age, because all those years are not recorded or
no, thank goodness.
all over social media, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, we just got to be young and have fun.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Speaking of being young and having fun, this is us, right? Right now, we're young and having a good time.
Still young. Now young is expanding, and now you can be very young for a long time. That's how I'm going to approach it.
Yeah. Well, when this episode airs, it will be a day after my birthday, so I will still be young.
Yes, always young, never unyoung. And a birthday is a celebration. If you're not going to celebrate your own birthday, girl, you know what I mean? You have to make an effort every year to be happy for your birthday. I always get excited. Are you excited for your birthday?
I don't know. I feel like I've never been one to take the day off from work on my birthday. I would rather go to work and then have everybody treat me special all day.
Oh, Americans, they don't know about life. Well, obviously, when you're an adult, your birthday usually can be on a day that, it's a work day.
Yeah.
But that's what the afternoon is for, girl.
Well,
make sure you celebrate yourself.
Well, my birthday's on a Wednesday. It's close enough to the weekend, so I'll make sure this weekend to have a good time.
Wow, I love weekends that start on a Wednesday.
Oh my gosh, you crack me up. Okay, well, anyway, enough with the small talk.
Enough of your birthday, because it's all about you.
Enough about talking about my birthday. And last year on my birthday episode, I think I wore my tiara, and today my tiara is up on the shelf instead.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to wear the tiara tomorrow again?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Were you wearing that tiara or were you wearing a crown?
No, it was that tiara. That's the only one I
sure?
have. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I did have that Burger King crown, didn't I?
Yes, I remember it was that Burger King crown. You'll have to go to your records and check it out. I think it might have been the crown.
Might have been, because I think that morning or the morning before I went to Burger King for breakfast and the guy asked me,
as you do in America. Oh,
I know. That's good. They're good. Anyway, he said, would you like a crown today? And I looked at him and I was like, I don't know. He's like, every queen should have a crown. And I was like, dude, you sold me. Give me a crown.
Make that a big menu. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love it. Well, he's right. You know, we all deserve a bit of like bling bling in our lives, and who doesn't like wearing a crown?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Honestly,
especially one from Burger King. That's so glamorous.
So paper. Anyway, speaking of queens, we need to talk about a special event that you're going to be doing for me.
I know.
Coming
I'm so
up.
excited because I've studied this woman. I know everybody loves her, Isabel of Castile. And you know, I hear a lot things about, oh, this woman, Elizabeth I, was a pioneer in propaganda, or this other lady. It was Isabel who started all of this. She was the OG influencer for queens in the Renaissance, and I know people love her. So I thought that, you know, showing what I know about how she is the OG and how she used art and culture to make her power so much more bigger, but also so impactful in our memory, in our collective memory, because 500 years later, we're still talking about this woman, right?
Yeah.
This queen. So I love it. I love it. Thank you, Rebecca, for supporting my work always. As you know, I've studied for decades Isabel of Castile. So I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And when I think it's October 25th is when you're going to be doing this special event, which is right after your 6-week course on Catherine of Aragon is over. What a perfect way, like what a perfect end cap to a Catherine of Aragon course.
Oh, I'm going to be emotional. It's definitely, it's been a ride and I love it. And Isabel is, you know, I love Catherine, but I'm torn when they like, well, who's your favorite historical character? Because Isabel is always in the back of my mind. We couldn't know the things we know about Catherine without knowing the things that Isabel has left us and the impact that she had in Europe and the world, really, right? I mean, we all know why, right? Obviously, we all remember 1492 what happened there. So, but there's a lot of misconceptions about her. She's been highly criticized. So I think this event will show that, I mean, monarchs are not perfect people. None of them are. And in the case of the women, I think we just judge them very harshly. They are the awful or the best, right? Or they are either Mary Tudors or Elizabeth I, right?
Yeah.
Isabel is one of those that is like, hey, careful with this one, you know? She's definitely a powerhouse. She believes in education above all, but she was ruthless. And if she had to do what she had to do, you didn't want to be in the middle.
I can't wait for this special event. So if you're watching or listening right now and you're interested, there will be a link in the show notes for you to find more information on how to get a ticket. But today we're doing Parallel Live still. We're still in the Parallel Live series. And after the last episode, you and I kind of quickly discussed who we wanted to chat about next. And you get to tell everybody today who we're going to be talking about.
Oh, well, queens. We're going with the theme of queens. We have a very, very famous queen, ill-fated queen, Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots. On the one hand, on one side of the ring, we have Mary, Queen of Scots.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding. We all know her. We all have ideas about her. We hate her. We love her. There's no in between, right?
Right.
Talking about her and her life, she's definitely someone that had a remarkable life, regardless if you like her or not.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the ring, ding, 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 it's, you know, my obsession with the Spanish monarchy. And thinking a bit about the time that Mary Queen of Scots lived, and kind of like if I could come up with parallels, I found the perfect match for her. She's not a queen, but she's a noblewoman, a high-ranking noblewoman in this court, the Spanish court, called known commonly as the Princess of Éboli, but that was by marriage. But her given name, and I'm going to say this slowly. Okay, so Doña, any noblewoman, like in the same way that in England we say lady, in Spain we say Doña. Okay, so Doña Ana, so her name is Anne, de Mendoza, de la Cerda, y de Silva Cifuentes. Long names in Spain.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why people in Spain have such long names, and then in the Hispanic world too, is because we keep our moms' names too. Women don't typically change their last names when they're married. So when a couple has a kid, they have both names. They have usually the father's name first and then the mother's name. So that is why you get all these Spanish people, excuse me, in the 16th century with these long names. So Doña Ana de Mendoza, de la Cerda y de Silva Cifuentes is the Princess of Éboli that we're going to talk about in comparison to, or comparing her life to, Mary Queen of Scots, Mary Stuart, right?
Yeah.
She was a Stuart.
I love that Spanish tradition, by the way, of keeping both of your parents' names. I wish that was an American tradition.
It's not just Spanish. I would say it's Hispanic. It's from the Iberian Peninsula, because in Portugal they do it too.
Okay.
So I'd never want to leave Portugal out. We tend to forget about the Portuguese in Spain, and I'm on the au contraire. My friend is one of my favorite. I mean, I think it might be on the whole my favorite country in Europe, Portugal.
Wow.
For many reasons. It's amazing people and beautiful country. Next to the second best, which would be the best one, which is Spain, right?
Obviously.
Obviously. And this in this case, Doña Ana de Mendoza, let's call her Ana de Mendoza. The Mendozas has been a very prominent family in Castile, and one of the most famous ones is an ambassador to England.
Oh yeah, Mendoza.
And he's in the Tudors. Remember him? Embajador Mendoza. That's what I didn't get about. I mean, the actress of the Tudors for Catherine Aragon was probably one of my favorite casts. And we've talked about this in the program before, in the show. The problem is her accent when she tries to say a sentence or two in Spanish, right? So every time she would say Embajador Mendoza, I would just no.
You're not suspending my disbelief right now.
So that's what, and it's cringy for anyone who speaks Spanish, by the way, not just me. It's not just me being posh. So Ana de Mendoza comes from this powerful family where there've been many and lots of links to England, because her husband, after they get married, she's married at 13 by recommendation of Philip of Spain in 1553. He's about to marry Mary Tudor, and he proposes that this rebellious noble little girl who's 13 is married to his guy, who is Rui Gomes da Silva, who is a Portuguese nobleman who becomes very, very close to Philip of Spain, the future Philip II of Spain, who becomes the first prince of Éboli, and that's how she becomes Princess of Éboli. But by birth, she was Princess of Melito and Duchess of Pastrana in her own right. So this is someone with a lot of power too. She has a lot of power. And before we go any longer, we have to say this woman is very famous. First of all, for being, cunning and plotting against the king and things like that, but also for wearing an eye patch.
Yeah, she's been it really gives off some Frances Bryan vibes, doesn't it?
It gives the pirate queen lady, I don't know, it gives her an edge. Even though she wears this eye patch, and we don't know the reason. Maybe she lost an eye. There's ideas that she could have lost it training with a sword or something. But the reality is she wore the patch. I mean, we can assume that something happened to her eye, or that she had a wandering eye and she wanted to make sure, because she was described as extremely beautiful. So even though she wore a patch, maybe the patch gave her the edge,
Yeah, it gave her a more exotic look. They're like, ooh, she's exotic and mysterious.
Yeah, and she's one of the most powerful people in this realm, and her family's loaded with money. So I think that helps too.
That makes her a little bit more attractive
Oh,
too.
she's so attractive, you know? But definitely she shows from an early age, and this is where there's a parallel with Mary, Queen of Scots, of rebellious attitude towards authority.
Oh, this sounds familiar. This is a familiar tale.
And she's married at 13. Imagine how rebellious you have to be that the Prince of Spain, he's almost King of England,
Yeah.
Philip, is like, oh, I know the perfect guy for, but then the guy leaves because he goes to England with Philip. So they're married, but they don't see each other a lot for the first 6 years.
Oh no. This screams disaster.
Well, depends on what you define as disaster in a marriage. They had to have children afterwards.
Oh, well, I guess that's good. She must have missed him then.
Yeah. At least she was 23 or 20 when he came back or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, but yeah, it doesn't have I think she's just these women that are very empowered through their own heritage, where they come from. So that's one of the things that they both have in common, Mary Stuart and the Princess of Éboli, is this kind of like proudness of their heritage that gives them authority, really. Which is classified then by the men as rebelliousness, or the women, because in the case of Mary Stuart is Elizabeth I, right?
Yes.
So it's always the battle of power.
Yes.
And the women are battling in this power battle in the 16th century. That's what I think is really remarkable. There are princesses of Éboli and Mary Stuarts in the 16th century is remarkable. Fighting for the power. In the case of Mary Stuart to another woman, Elizabeth I, right?
Yeah. You know, one must think that there were lots of women who were battling for things in the 16th century, and yet we only hear the stories of the big named women. Those are the ones that are documented, right?
Exactly. There's a lot of women I find. I look a lot at accounts. I look a lot, and in the case of the court of Isabel of Castile, just to bring her up again, there's a lot of women involved in many things. In the case of the sources we do have for Catherine of Aragon and Mary Tudor, we see women involved in really, really important stuff. For example, they're bringing a lot of the New Year's gifts to the monarchs.
Mm.
So what I want to say with this is that women are a lot involved in the production of culture and art and things like that, because those are domestic things that they are in their realm. They're at home arranging the home, and these objects are used for their chapels, these paintings. And in the case of the portraits that we talk a lot about, and Mary Stuart has some of the most amazing portraits ever. She's painted by the Clouets. I think there's a portrait of Mary Stuart in the Prado that hasn't been identified yet.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. You'll have to tell me more about this later.
Just saying. Maybe next time I go to Madrid, I can have a look at it. And but well, we have to think that, for example, Mary Stuart and this Princess of Éboli, Ana de Mendoza, have more in common than we think. They share a very good friend.
Oh, who could they share
as a friend?
As a friend.
So think about this. Where is Mary Stuart when she's young?
In France.
Of course, she's in France, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So in France, Mary Stuart, that is betrothed, because her mother is Marie de Guise, and France and Scotland have always had a close connection. She's betrothed to the Dauphin, to the heir of the crown, in France, and she goes to France. She's painted by the Clouets and all that, and there she encounters Isabel Elizabeth of Valois, who becomes the third wife of Philip. You know how a lot I say Charles V is in everything?
Yeah.
Philip II is in everything in the second half of the 16th century.
Well, it helps when you marry a bunch of women.
4. Yes. He's not a Henry VIII, but he's He's not doing
close.
a bad job. He's close. So he marries Elizabeth of Valois, who travels through the Spanish court and becomes really good friends with Ana de Mendoza.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And Mary Stuart would remember Elizabeth of Valois for years and years. She would say in her letters she missed her dearly. So obviously Elizabeth of Valois was someone who had a way to herself that, the women, which is, I think, is very important too when you become a queen, right? A queen consort, to have that power of attraction to other women in the court that want to look like you. And in the case of Elizabeth of Valois, it's very important because she becomes the patron of Sofonisba Anguissola, the portrait painter, the woman portrait painter. Have you heard of her?
I think so. I think you've talked about her before, haven't you?
Yes, there's many paintings by her in the Prado. She was one of the ladies in waiting to Elizabeth of Valois. She was an Italian recruited by Philip II of Spain to work for his wife.
Oh.
Right? And she paints arguably the best picture of Philip II of Spain. She's incredibly talented and very refined, obviously, because we've talked many times that the Renaissance is coming from Italy. So she's coming from the source, really. Mm-hmm. But where has Philip learned this? Where has he seen women artists painting queens?
I can't imagine. Maybe when he was in the toilet.
No, that was his father. Come on. His father was born in the toilet.
I think I was just trying to come up with a way for us to talk about Charles.
Philip II was born when Charles V ditched Mary and married Elizabeth of Portugal. That's how Philip II is born. Wow. Isn't it crazy? And then Mary Tudor marries him? Ugh. That's what we should be talking about. How weird is that?
There's too much. And that whole family, that's all. There's a lot of weirdness going on there, isn't there?
Oh, I know. Still, after Henry VIII executed Anne Boleyn, remember that?
Did
what
he?
Year was it? 1536.
Did he really execute Anne Boleyn?
Well, he had a French guy do it for him, but yes, he had her executed. And after that, he wants to marry a Habsburg. Remember the full-length portrait of a Habsburg, someone in the same sphere, someone related to Catherine of Aragon, because he's pursuing people like Christina of Denmark.
Yeah. Yes.
And he sends Holbein to the court of Mary of Hungary, who's raising Mary of Hungary, Mary Tudor's cousin. So the daughter of Juana and Crybaby.
Yeah.
Who was not born in the toilet.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 40% off site-wide and free professional installation. Rules and restrictions apply.
So,
you guys, if you're only listening to this episode, I swear you're missing out on so much.
Yes, you are.
Watch the video.
So these two women that we're talking about today are born or starting their lives. Women started early. We said Ana Mendoza is at 13 when she's married, like Margaret Beaufort. So but then her husband leaves. It's more like a promise of a matrimony later on, more than you know what I mean. So this is 1553. This is the year Mary Tudor becomes queen.
Yes.
And then remember in 1543, so Mary Stuart is kind of betrothed to Edward VI, the future Edward VI too.
Kind of.
They
were trying to force it on her.
Yeah. And she was like, he's weird like his dad. I don't like him.
He's weird. She was like,
I much rather have the French guy. He looks much better to me.
Well, the fact that they call it the rough wooing to get the marriage all aligned says a lot about how the Scottish felt about this whole idea.
And then she's a Catholic. She's like, I'm going to go to the court of Henry VIII. Yeah, right.
Yeah, send me to France.
One of the things that is remarkable about Mary Stuart, think about this. And let's talk a little bit about what happens to her, really. They both end up in badly. This is why the parallels too, right? Mary Stuart and Ana de Mendoza. We should talk about that. Because Mary goes back to France after Francis's death. She's queen of France for a little bit. She marries the French dude and she goes back to Scotland, right? To rule, apparently. She marries Lord Darnley, and then the whole thing happens where he's murdered and all that, right?
Yes.
And then what happens? She tries to get help from who?
After the Darnley thing, then that's crap. Now you're really putting me on the spot.
She has a Tudor cousin that's ruling England called Elizabeth.
That's what you're getting at. Okay, yeah.
Right,
so then she went.
And
she's
like, "Oh, look at me! I'm just like you, but in Scotland. So hey,
help a sister
out." Me out. And and Elizabeth is like, "No." And she
I'm sorry.
imprisons her.
Can't get over you. No.
Yes, exactly. That's how I see it in my brain.
Yeah.
That's how it happened, right? And then she's like, Hilliard, paint another miniature of me. But like I'm 20 years younger. So what happens is Mary Queen of Scots is imprisoned where?
In England.
Where is she executed?
In Fotheringay.
Fotheringay Castle.
Yes.
Whose castle was that?
Oh my gosh.
Originally. It was a very old castle from medieval times, right? But it had been refurbished and taken to the next level, so taken to the Renaissance level by Catherine of Aragon. It belonged to Catherine of Aragon.
Okay.
John Leland, who was the most famous antiquarian, worked for Henry VIII and was sent to see a lot of these things, said, it's incredible what this woman did with this castle. So that's where she is executed. There's a drawing of her execution in the British Library. That is we don't have Fotheringay Castle, like many castles from England has disappeared. There's a landmark there, stone, if you want to go and see it. But there's a drawing at the British Library of the interior because there's a drawing of the execution of Mary, right?
Yeah.
When in the Prado Museum, I was looking for stuff on Mary Queen of Scots, because it's my favorite museum in the world. And they do have several things other than that portrait that I'm telling you about. But let's say one thing about it. It was painted by a Flemish artist.
I feel like you're quizzing me a lot today, and I am not on my game.
I'm just dropping a bomb. No, in the case of the execution of Mary Queen of Scots, it is used later on in the Spanish monarchy as a symbol of how Elizabeth killed a Catholic queen.
Well, she did. Yeah,
she did. I think this is something we don't talk about enough, because Elizabeth I has this halo of sanctity as a monarch that I quite frankly understand and don't understand, right? I understand because she's at the very inception of British culture, and then she became very notable because her time was very famous because of people like Shakespeare, and she did many good things, right? But she did awful things too. And this treatment of Mary Queen of Scots, whatever Mary had done or whatever her role was, I think, very telling that she was just like her dad, a bit cuckoo in the head, that she never trusted anyone, truly, anyone. So, and that she had a special mission against Catholics.
Yeah. Well, you can't blame Elizabeth for not trusting anyone because of her whole life. I think she always felt like she couldn't trust anybody. She was always in a position that she was a threat to somebody.
But what about empathy? What about showing empathy for her cousin, because they were cousins, who was in the same position as her, younger than her? Why not make an alliance with your cousin, let her rule in Scotland, teach her how to rule, and find common ground and say, well, you're a Catholic, you can do your thing in Scotland, but We're Anglican here.
Yeah, what a tough situation. I'm not making excuses for Elizabeth I because I have my own gripes with her, but I think it's hard for us to put ourselves in her shoes to fully understand, like, how influenced was she by her advisors at that time? Was she listening to them, or was this all her idea?
That's a very good point, and I think anyone who's in leadership should listen to advisors. I mean, you can't do things on your own.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think this is Elizabeth's stubbornness, because she does not engage in the pursuit of training or a successor. And
Yeah.
Mary is, well, I mean, she ends up being the successor because her son ends up being the next king of England. So I'm just very confused about Elizabeth's thought process in executing Mary and really executing anyone who could succeed her, really. Instead of, oh, well, I'll educate her, I'll bring her to my court, I'll have her near me, I'll teach her how to be a good queen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
That would
that's
have made
very
more
true.
sense to me. I think
Yeah.
that's what Catherine of Aragon would have done if she would have been Elizabeth I, for example.
Yeah.
She would have had her enemy very, very close. Because then you make martyrs, and we still talk about the execution of Mary, Queen of Scots,
We
rightfully
do.
so,
Yeah.
because of that. And we know, because it's obvious, that one of the main reasons is because she was younger, a Catholic, and better looking.
I was just gonna say, and prettier, and that was really
And Elizabeth couldn't take it.
right. Yeah, all you had to say is she was prettier, and that would have been enough for any woman.
And younger. Don't
younger.
forget, she was also younger.
I was like, what? She's prettier
And
and
then she's
younger?
this righteous Catholic, right? She's like, I know better because I know more, my moral standards, you know? And Elizabeth's like, ugh, take her to Fotheringay.
Take her to Fotheringay.
You know, where that, and Elizabeth did not hate every Catholic, because she did have, for example, portraits of Isabel the First of Castile in her collection. Because if there still are in the royal collection today of Isabel and Fernando, and they are in the inventories of Henry VIII, that means that Elizabeth inherited them and had them for all her time as queen with her. So what this is saying is, I think what Elizabeth was is annoyed at the way Mary Stuart behaved. Right? She was too rebellious for her, instead of being more strategic and more like, let's parlay, let's work this out in a more less confrontational manner. Maybe that would have worked, but nevertheless, she was extreme.
So she saw Mary Stuart as a more free-spirited queen, and maybe she was jealous.
She was like, I wish I was her, in a way, you know?
Yeah, I bet she did.
Those.
I bet there was part of her where she was like, man, I wish I could have made some of these decisions.
Well, and then there's a part of the other side. Let's look at the other side. Let's look at Mary Stuart. Who gives the right to anyone, if Providence, so we talk a lot about Providence, has chosen you to be, and you've already been Queen of France, and you're back in your hometown, in your home country, and you're Queen of Scotland, and you descend from Henry VII and Elizabeth of York too.
That's right. Yes.
So it's like, this is my God-given right, woman. How dare you?
Yeah.
Because she was right. It was her God-given. I mean, I think, you know, the two last Tudors, not the two last Tudors, Edward, the Tudors, especially Edward VI and Elizabeth I, are the weirdest monarchs that I've ever seen. First of all, Edward goes against his father's will.
Yep.
So changes his. So he not only he's going against Mary, who's a Catholic, he's also going against Elizabeth, who's a Protestant.
Yes.
So people should remember that. So weird. And then Elizabeth never marries and never has an heir. What kind of continuity are you going to have for you? And then never declares who's her. What a weird monarch.
It does make you wonder, like, what was going on in her head and why did she let it come to that?
Who knows? But she had time.
Yeah, the whole Edward VI thing I feel like Edward the Sixth was so manipulated by men around him that he didn't know how to think for himself. That's my opinion on Edward the Sixth. I think he was just influenced by John Dudley to change the device for succession, and he did it in a way that favored John Dudley's son, Lady Jane Grey's husband. So, wow,
Right.
how convenient, right?
Right. But then the things you have to hear about this king, boy king, right? And
Yeah.
he did this and he did nothing. He was just a boy, manipulated by everyone around him. But then you have Mary the First, and he's like, oh, she was super manipulated by Philip II of Spain. He was the smart one in that relationship. She was just dumb. No, no. This is a 37-year-old woman who has
Yeah.
waited all her life. And in the case of Mary Stuart, we do have to take into account in these parallel lives the age differences and the power difference, right? So by
Mhm.
the time that Mary Stuart comes back home, Elizabeth is established in the throne and she has a winning hand. And Elizabeth is ruthless with Mary Stuart. And in the
Yeah.
case of Ana de Mendoza, even though we've said she comes from this very, very big family and all of that, when she tries to assert her power, she runs into a problem is if you go against the king, you're done.
Oh.
Yeah. So she's described as being, and we said 10 children, marries this guy from Portugal who is a close advisor to Philip. He's basically one of the people ruling for Philip. Um, and they describe as very energetic in the court and very attractive, like Mary Stuart, right? In 1573, her husband dies. And she goes to a convent for 3 years. But after 3 years, she's like, nah, I don't think convents are for me. So she goes back to court and makes a secret alliance, supposedly, because we all have to know these accusations sometimes are, with the king's secretary, so Philip II's secretary, Antonio Perez, the most Spanish name you'll ever hear, Antonio Perez. Okay. So she makes a secret alliance and they try to kill. I mean, the plotting and plotting and
Oh
plotting.
no.
She's like changing her eye patch every day to plot. It's just incredible. And finally, they're both arrested.
Who
She's
did,
arrested.
who did they try to kill?
They try to kill her. I think it was her new husband.
Oh my gosh.
But they plot against the king apparently too. And in 1579, she is arrested, and she spends 13 years in prison where she dies.
Wow.
She's like a Rapunzel because they put her in a tower and they're like, throw the key to the river Éboli, which is the biggest, longest river in.
I can't even. Oh, wow. She really was a troublemaker, wasn't she?
I wonder if she was able to take her eye patches to the tower. And I always imagine her because there's a very famous portrait of her by the court artist Alonso Sanchez Coelho, where that's why we know she had an eye patch because she was wearing it.
Yeah.
With a very big ruff. So now we're in the time of big ruffs and that. And I imagine her in that tower with her big ruff and her eye patch. And you know what else she has when I see her in my brain? You know what?
Oh, God.
What do people with eye patches have?
I don't know. They're like
in their
pirates,
shoulder?
and they have to have a parrot.
I'm sure she had a parrot. And she used to, yeah, imagine that when you walked in that room and you saw a lady with an eye patch and a parrot, and the parrot was like, hola!
I know. I was just gonna say now I have to do an impression of a parrot.
Parrot speaking in Spanish. That's the story of my life.
Yeah, she is just. She's
little
just.
parrot when I was a little girl. I've said that in the podcast?
Have you? I guess I didn't remember you saying.
Yeah, in Spanish we say loro is parrot, right? So lorito would be little parrot. So it's like a thing. Don't be. My mom would used to say like, don't be so lorito. Don't be so parroty.
Hmm. Huh.
It's just because you talk a lot. Never happened to you?
Oh. I had 3 siblings. I was the third, so right. I was, I guess I was technically a middle child and an attention seeker, but
nobody was paying attention to you.
No, that's probably why I was in theater and stuff because I wanted people to pay attention. It's probably why I have a podcast.
You're a sign that I put. Sometimes, look at me.
Look at me.
Well, I'm a firstborn.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Enough said.
So yeah, and I've always had this problem. I talk a lot, so it's not. That's why I'm in a podcast.
That's why it's perfect that we came together.
And this is how you end up in a podcast, people. It used to be the only complaint my teachers would have in school would be she talks too much.
And you would talk to yourself too.
And I would talk to myself. I still do.
That's my favorite story where she puts you in the back of the class.
I sing, I'm like practically never silent. Which is, it's a lot for you have to like cohabitate with me, obviously.
Your husband is a saint.
He is a saint. He's a saint. He's a good listener.
Oh my God.
Imagine. No, that's, you have to be compatible.
Yes.
You can't have two little parrots together because then it's just too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess now I tend to be the talky one in relationships.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can listen sometimes. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next, but I can listen. Anyway, back to the parallel lives because it's all about us. When we thought about this episode, I thought this was very interesting because this is not a time I know artistically, and you guys know I'm an art historian, and just to go through a bunch of portraits, well, especially the Ana de Mendoza with her eye patch,
Yeah.
but the portraiture in this time, which I'm studying a lot now, is fascinating too. And there's so much still, so many unknown ladies in collections, in portraits in collections everywhere that need attention because it's just the portraiture just gets more complex too. It's just you get so enthralled in it because it's like all these symbology and all that. So I did enjoy a lot preparing for this. And looking through those. And also Mary Stuart, I think she's a figure that brings up a lot of empathy and sympathy in Spain. And I think it is because of this connection of the Catholic world, and the kind of the grievances against the Catholic world that we all know about. And Mary Queen of Scots is definitely one in the Catholic world, right?
Yeah.
And then in the Protestant world, they have others, right? Like the Book of Martyrs.
Yes. John Fox.
It depends on the way you see history. I guess that's kind of one of my final reflections on this episode. Is Mary Queen of Scots is seen very differently, for example. So these big female figures, especially tragic female figures, are used on both sides to really show like grievances, right? To say, oh, well, I studied the history of Spain, so poor Mary Queen of Scots. Oh, well, I studied the history of England, so Mary Queen of Scots was a bit silly,
Yeah, yep.
Kind of thing. So I would say that studying, for example, the art and seeing that these people share a common language, we should think more that this is a time that Europe is reconstructing. And these people in power are the ones shaping the identity of the people in Britain or Spain right now, with their actions and what happened to them. Not just what they did, but how later those things were told and shared and reimagined later on. And that got me thinking, especially when I saw that preparation drawing for the execution of Mary Queen of Scots that was put in a triumphal arch in Spain. And I don't remember now when, I think it was the early 17th century, because when James I and VI is trying to make peace with Spain, he's using a lot of these Catholic symbols, like jewelry of Mary Tudor and Philip, and the image of his mother, right?
Yeah.
His tragic mother. So it's a new chapter of fascinating just artworks that are telling us about these stories. And it's funny how art historians in Spain see it one way and art historians in England see it a different way.
That's right.
I'm sure art historians in Scotland see it another way too.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about Mary Stuart? I
I'm always torn on her. I'm fascinated by her and her story, but I feel like I still can't put my finger on exactly who she was.
And
I do.
why do you think is that?
I just think like it's either she's the naive victim or she is the plotting queen. There is no in between, and I feel like there's got to be an in between here. She wasn't one or the other. There's got to be a mixture of both.
I think that's a great reflection because that's what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode when I mentioned that Isabel is either seen as this horrible woman that, inflicted this pain and and the expulsion of the Jews and went to colonize America and this and that, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other people who see her as this woman who introduced Renaissance and humanism and this and that. But in the case of the women, because it's so rare still, even though we talk a lot about them, they're very rare. They're seen, and later, after their lives, they are constructed either as villains or goddesses, but pure goddesses, like Elizabeth. And that's why Elizabeth, the First of England, is such a fascinating figure. This virgin queen, Gloriana. Gloriana was pretty nasty woman sometimes.
Yep.
Just like the rest of them.
I agree.
So Mary Tudor wasn't that bloody.
Right.
No. So that's what I'm saying. It's funny. It's the women. I think people judge women in power very harshly, more than they judge men in power.
Yeah.
They always think their emotions are in the way. What? Men don't get their emotions in the way when they have to make decisions? Come on. Every single war we ever had was started by a man.
Right. Right.
And a lot of them had been ended by women. In this time, we have lots of treaties. For example, in 1529, the Peace of the Ladies, Margaret of Austria, because why? Because Francis I is too much of a guy to make a real lasting peace. It's the women who have to come together and be like, hey, it's time. You guys have had fun, but it's time because this is getting out of hand. Okay?
Knock it off,
Go
you
back
guys.
to making the pictures and marrying each other. Stop this nonsense right now. Right. 1529 is enough. Or 1530. I don't remember. So women are seen as either horrible or magnificent, but they're just human beings with good and bad things. And then what a lot of their job was to make peace, to bring peace. So I think we should talk more about that too. Instead of saying they were horrible, she was ugly, she was this, she was that. No, there were very difficult positions, and a lot of the times they're trying to make peace. When Mary Tudor marries Philip of Spain, which is one of the worst things that ever happened to England, she was trying to reestablish a very fruitful economical alliance with the Spanish monarchy for England. So it's not. It depends on how you see the perspective you see it. It's a very different story, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, Dr. Emma, this has been another fun episode of Parallel Lives to learn about the parallel between these two women, these two noble women in history. I have to mention real quick, too, because the episode I did previous to this was called Executed Queens, and it was about Mary Queen of Scots as well. So you have to do back-to-back episode listening on this one.
That's not a bad idea because we're getting Halloweeny, right?
It helps more history lovers find the show. Want to support the podcast?
Maybe this year I'll go as
head to patreon.com.
Oh, that would be a fun costume.
You can also find the link.
Is it before the execution or after the
execution? Join the conversation with Rebecca on social media at Tudors Dynasty. Until next time.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, Dr. Emma, thank you so much, and I'll see you again next Thursday.
Okay, and happy early birthday, Rebecca. We love you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.